The Crescian scout ship hovered silently above the small human settlement, on the outskirts of what the natives called Montana, the blue and green planet designated as acquisition target. 743 by the Empire had initially seemed like an easy conquest. Commander Zilxa studied the surveillance feeds with growing interest, her 4 amber eyes blinking in sequence as she processed the information. The bipedal species called humans appeared physically unimpressive, their bodies soft, and lacking the protective exoskeleton that most advanced species developed. Lieutenant Vexara. "What is the status of our scout team?" Zilxa asked her second-in-command, who stood rigidly at the command console. "They have selected 5 specimen, females for preliminary testing, Commander." Vexara replied, her voice carrying the metallic resonance typical of Crescian females. "The extraction will commence once the settlement enters its sleep cycle." Zilxa nodded her angular head. The movement, causing the ceremonial rank chains on her neck ridge to softly chime. "Remind the extraction team to use minimal force. The High Command wants undamaged specimens." The Crescian Empire had conquered 17 star systems in the past cycle, but protocol remained the same: assess, capture, study, classify, then either incorporate or eliminate depending on usefulness. Most species fell into the incorporate category, becoming worker castes within the vast empire. Darkness fell over the Montana settlement, and Zilxa watched as her extraction team moved with practiced efficiency. 5 Crescian warriors, each twice the size of an average human, slipped between the primitive dwellings, their stealth field generators making them nearly invisible. The first extraction went perfectly. A human female approximately 30 cycles old, according to their scientists, was sedated before she even woke. The warrior carried her effortlessly back toward the waiting transport. The second extraction encountered a minor complication. The human female, this one with hair the color of Terran wheat, woke just as the sedation needle approached her neck. She had time to make one small noise before the sedative took effect. By the third extraction, Zilxa was growing impatient. "Why is this taking so long?" she demanded. Vexara checked the tactical display. "The third target is not in her expected location. Commander, she appears to be in an outer building some distance from her dwelling. Proceed with the extraction." The Brow team leader acknowledged and redirected to a small structure at the edge of the human property. Inside they found the third human female working with primitive tools on some kind of mechanical device. Despite the late hour, the Crescian warrior approached, silently from behind, readying the sedation device. But just as he was about to administer it, the human female named Amy, according to their intelligence, stood up suddenly and turned. For a moment she and the Crescian warrior stared at each other, neither moving. Then inexplicably the human did something entirely unexpected. She smiled. "I was wondering when you'd show up," Amy said casually, as if encountering an 8-foot-tall insectoid alien was an everyday occurrence. The warrior hesitated, momentarily confused by the lack of fear or surprise. This hesitation proved costly. With speed that defied the Crescian assessment of human capabilities, Amy grabbed a nearby tool and swung it at the warrior's sedation device, knocking it from his grasp. The warrior recovered quickly, reaching for Amy with his powerful pincer-like appendages. What happened next would force the Crescian Empire to completely reconsider their classification of humans as a level 2 threat. Amy ducked under the warrior's grasp, grabbed his exoskeletal arm, and with strength that should have been impossible for her species, threw the warrior across the small building. He crashed into a wall, cracking his protective carapace. "Team leader, report," Zilxa demanded. As the command center erupted in surprise, "Impossible," came the strained reply. "The human female is demonstrating strength capabilities well beyond our assessment parameters, requesting backup." 2 more warriors rushed to the building surrounding Amy, who stood calmly in the center. Her posture relaxed despite being confronted by alien invaders twice her size. "You really should have just knocked on the door," Amy said, as the warriors closed in. "We're generally a friendly bunch," the warriors attacked simultaneously, one from each side. Amy moved with shocking speed, dodging the first and using his momentum to crash him into the second. Both warriors stumbled, giving Amy just enough time to dash through the door into the night. "All units, converge on target 3, Zilxa ordered. Unable to believe what she was witnessing on the tactical display, use maximum non-lethal force across the settlement. The other extraction teams abandoned their assignments to pursue Amy, who was now running toward the other houses. She's alerting the settlement, Vexara said, her voice tinged with concern. Zilxa watched as Amy reached the first house, pounding on the door, shouting words their translators picked up as, "They're here, they've come, wake." Uplights began coming on throughout the settlement as humans emerged from their dwellings. Confused at first, then alarmed as they spotted the Crescian warriors now fully visible as they pursued Amy. "Abort the mission," Zilxa ordered reluctantly. "Return to the ship immediately." But it was too late. The warriors found themselves suddenly confronted by dozens of humans emerging from their homes, some carrying primitive projectile weapons, others simple tools, one human female named Kelly, according to their intelligence, managed to strike a warrior with some kind of electrical device, temporarily disabling him. The extraction team retreated toward their transport, but Amy and 3 other human females cut them off, herding them away from their escape route. "Commander, they're coordinating their movements," Vexara said, disbelief evident in her voice. "Tactical analysis suggests they're using a pincer maneuver against our warriors." Zilxa watched in growing alarm as her elite warriors, trained in 17 forms of combat, found themselves outmaneuvered by creatures that until moments ago had been classified as minimally threatening. "Activate emergency extraction protocol," she ordered. A blinding light erupted from the scout ship, bathing the area below in pulsating energy designed to temporarily paralyze most carbon-based life forms, allowing the warriors to escape. But when the light faded, Zilxa saw something that chilled her to her core. The humans had shielded their eyes somehow, anticipating the tactic, and now stood in a protective circle around the Crescian warriors who had been incapacitated by their own extraction field. "Impossible," Zilxa whispered, as Amy looked directly up at the scout ship, as if she could see through. "It's cloaking technology, Commander," Vexara said, her voice unusually subdued. "I believe we may have made a significant error in our assessment of this species." Zilxa could only nod as she watched the humans efficiently secure her warriors with primitive but effective restraints. "Recall all units," she ordered, "and prepare a direct communication link to High Command. We need to report this immediately." As the scout ship pulled away from Earth airspace, Zilxa knew the Crescian Empire had encountered something unprecedented, a species that appeared harmless yet possessed extraordinary capabilities, a primitive civilization that had somehow anticipated their arrival. The conquest of Earth would not be as simple as they had expected. 3 Earth days had passed since the failed extraction mission, and Commander Zilxa stood rigidly before the holographic projection of Grand Admiral Vexalier, her posture conveying appropriate submission before the Empire's military leader. "Your report is most disturbing, Commander." The Grand Admiral's voice resonated through the command chamber. "You claim these humans not only resisted our warriors but captured them." "Yes, Grand Admiral," Zilxa replied, keeping her 4 eyes downcast. "The humans demonstrated capabilities far beyond our initial assessment, and you believe they anticipated our arrival." Zilxa hesitated, knowing her next words could be interpreted as failure. "The evidence suggests they were prepared," the human female, designated as Amy, spoke as if she had been expecting us. The Grand Admiral's mandibles clicked, a sign of displeasure. "Impossible. Our cloaking technology is undetectable by primitive species." Nevertheless, the humans were ready. The extraction team reports they were captured using coordinated tactics typically seen only in Level 7 species. Silence filled the chamber as the Grand Admiral processed this information. Finally, she spoke. "The High Command has upgraded the acquisition priority. Of Earth, we cannot allow a potentially threatening species to develop unchecked, especially one that may have detection capabilities beyond their apparent technological level." Zilxa felt her thoracic plates tighten with anticipation. "New orders, Grand Admiral. You will proceed with a full tactical assessment. Your scout ship will remain in orbit and continue observation. Meanwhile, we are dispatching the dreadnought Zexkalir with a full warrior complement. You will coordinate with Captain Curvin upon their arrival, and our captured warriors. Their fate is regrettable but secondary to the mission." The Grand Admiral's tone left no room for argument. "We cannot allow this unexpected development to delay the expansion timetable. The humans must be properly assessed and classified." As the holographic projection faded, Zilxa turned to Lieutenant Vexara, who had remained silent during the exchange. Prepare a comprehensive surveillance operation. I want to understand how these humans detected us and how they coordinated so effectively. Yes, Commander, Vexara acknowledged. And what of the humans who have our warriors? Monitor them closely. Perhaps we can learn more about their capabilities by observing how they interact. With our captured team, thousands of miles below in the small Montana settlement, the 5 captured Crescian warriors were being held in an abandoned mine shaft, reinforced to prevent escape. Amy stood outside the makeshift prison consulting with Kelly and Diane, 2 other women from the settlement. They're definitely scouts, Amy said, examining a device taken from one of the warriors. Standard Crescian protocol is to assess before sending in the main invasion force. Kelly, a woman with short, auburn hair, nodded. How long do you think we have before they return? A few days at most, Amy replied. We need to contact Central Command immediately. The fact that they targeted our settlement first is either extremely bad luck or they somehow identified us as a military outpost. Diane, the oldest of the 3 women, frowned. Impossible. Our cover is perfect as far as any scans would show. We're just an ordinary rural community, nothing to suggest military presence. Amy wasn't convinced either. We need to interrogate the prisoners, learn everything we can about their ship capabilities, number of personnel. I'll handle the interrogation, Kelly offered. My xenolinguistics training should help even with their translation devices offline. Amy nodded, then looked up at the night sky where she knew the Crescian scout ship was watching. They'll be trying to figure out how we knew they were coming. Let them wonder, Diane said with a grim smile. The longer they remain confused, the more time we have to prepare. What the Crescian observers couldn't know was that Earth had been preparing for this encounter for decades, ever since the first Crescian scout ship had been detected near the Alpha Centauri system 30 years earlier, while the rest of humanity remained unaware of the alien threat. A secret global defense initiative had been established. Outposts disguised as ordinary settlements staffed by highly trained military personnel were strategically placed around the planet, their sole purpose to act as first response teams when the Crescians inevitably arrived. Amy had been stationed at the Montana outpost for 3 years, leading a team of 12 operatives, all women specifically chosen because intelligence suggested Crescian culture considered females less threatening, a bias Earth's defense planners intended to exploit. Back on the scout ship, Zilxa reviewed the surveillance data with growing frustration. They appear to be simple farmers, yet they subdued our warriors with military precision. Vexara highlighted a section of footage showing Amy and Kelly moving the captured warriors. Notice their movement patterns, Commander, classic military formation, and observe how they maintain visual coverage of all approach vectors, trained soldiers disguised as civilians. Zilxa concluded. But why would a primitive species place military units in isolated areas? Perhaps they were expecting us, Vexara suggested. The implication was troubling. If humans had detected Crescian presence in their solar system, it would mean their technological capabilities were far beyond what had been assessed. Focus surveillance on the human Amy, Zilxa ordered. She appears to be their leader for the next 24 hours. The scout ship monitored Amy's movements, capturing every conversation, every interaction. The more they observed, the more puzzling the situation became. Commander, Vexara called urgently. You need to see this. Zilxa moved to the surveillance station where Vexara had isolated footage of Amy speaking with another human female in what they believed was a food preparation area. Play the audio. The quantum signature detector worked perfectly, Amy was saying as she prepared some kind of beverage. We picked up their warp field distortion the moment they entered Earth's atmosphere. Do you think they know we have the technology to detect them? The other human asked. Amy shook her head. Impossible. They still think we're a pre-warp civilization. That's why they sent such a small team. They never expected resistance. Zilxa felt her exoskeleton grow cold with shock. Humans had quantum detection technology, a capability typically found only in level 9 civilizations. There's more, Commander. Vexara continued, forwarding the surveillance to another conversation. Central Command reports similar extraction attempts in 7 other outposts. Amy was saying to Kelly. All successfully repelled. The Beijing team even managed to capture intact communication equipment. Excellent, Kelly replied. Between their comm gear and our prisoners, we should be able to access their fleet deployment data. Ziluksa abruptly terminated the surveillance feed. Send an encrypted priority. Alert to the dreadnought, accelerate their arrival timeline. We may have significantly underestimated this species. Commander. Vexara's voice was hesitant. If the humans possess quantum detection technology and have established a global defense network specifically designed to counter our tactics, then this is not a standard acquisition. Ziluksa finished. This is potentially a Level 9 encounter scenario in Crescian military doctrine. A Level 9 encounter required completely different protocols instead of conquest. The Empire would initiate containment procedures preventing the species from expanding beyond their home system, while assessing whether they represented a genuine threat to Crescian dominance. Vexara's mandibles clicked. Nervously, the High Command will not be pleased. They will be even less pleased if we lose an entire dreadnought because we failed to accurately assess the human threat level. Ziluksa responded, Continue surveillance maximum coverage. I want to know everything about these humans before the dreadnought arrives. Down on Earth. Amy looked up at the night sky again, a small smile playing on her lips. Still watching us, she murmured, knowing the Crescian ship was there, even if she couldn't see. It good, I hope you're paying attention. The true capabilities of humanity were about to be revealed, and the Crescian Empire was wholly unprepared for what was coming. The Crescian dreadnought Zexcalir emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system, its massive form dwarfing the scout ship commanded by Ziluksa. Captain Kuravan, a veteran of 17 conquest campaigns, stood on the command deck, her imposing figure enhanced by battle-scarred exoskeleton plates. Report. She demanded of her tactical officer. Scout ship signals detected, Captain. They maintain orbit around the target planet. Kuravan's mandibles clicked in contemplation. Open communication. Channel to Commander Ziluksa. The view screen illuminated, showing Ziluksa's command center. Her posture noticeably tense. Captain Kuravan, the dreadnought's arrival is most welcome. Spare me the pleasantries, Commander, Kuravan said dismissively. Your reports have caused considerable concern within High Command. Explain how primitive beings managed to capture Imperial warriors. Ziluksa straightened her posture. The humans are not as primitive as we initially assessed, Captain. Our surveillance indicates they possess quantum detection technology and have established a global defense network specifically designed to counter Crescian acquisition tactics. Kuravan's 4 eyes narrowed. Impossible according to Imperial intelligence. They have barely achieved lunar travel. Their energy weapons are rudimentary at best. With respect, Captain, Ziluksa countered. The evidence suggests they have concealed their true technological level. Our surveillance has captured numerous conversations confirming advanced capabilities. Show me. Ziluksa transmitted the surveillance data, the footage showing Amy and the other humans discussing Crescian technology with surprising familiarity and expertise. Kuravan watched in silence, her expression unreadable. This changes nothing. She finally declared, the acquisition will proceed as planned. If the humans possess advanced technology, that is all the more reason to neutralize them before they become a genuine threat to the Empire. Captain, I recommend caution. Ziluksa insisted. A Level 9 encounter protocol would be more appropriate until we fully understand their capabilities. Kuravan's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of growing anger. You overstep, Commander. Your failure to complete a simple extraction mission does not qualify you to recommend strategy to a battle, Captain. As you wish, Captain. Ziluksa conceded, knowing further argument would be futile. What are your orders? The dreadnought will assume standard attack position. Prepare your scout ship to provide tactical support. I will lead the first assault wave personally. We will target their military installations first, followed by command and control centers. This acquisition ends today. As the communication ended, Vexara approached. Ziluksa. Commander, the captain appears determined to proceed despite our warnings. Yes. Ziluksa replied, her voice low, and I fear she may be leading us into disaster on Earth. Amy received the alert from orbital monitoring stations. The arrival of the Crescian dreadnought had been detected precisely as predicted by Central Command's tactical AI. They're here. she announced to her team who had gathered in the underground command center hidden beneath the seemingly ordinary farmhouse. And, ahead of schedule, Kelly looked up from the communication terminal. All outposts reporting ready defensive systems are online and fully operational. What about the prisoners? Diane asked. They've told us everything useful, Amy replied. Transfer them to secure holding in Sector 4. We may need them for negotiation leverage later. The team moved with practiced efficiency, each member focusing on their assigned tasks without panic or confusion. Years of training had prepared them for this. Momentum activated the global command link. Her voice transmitted simultaneously to all defense outposts worldwide. This is Commander Ray. Operation Welcome Wagon is now active. All units implement Phase 1 protocols. This is not a drill. Repeat. This is not a drill. Across the planet, carefully concealed defense systems hummed to life. Powerful energy shields enveloped major population centers, while orbital defense platforms disguised as communications, satellites reoriented toward the approaching threat in the Montana outpost. Amy turned to Diane. Status of the quantum disruptors charged and ready, Diane confirmed. Waiting for the signal from Central Command. Amy nodded, then addressed her team. Remember, our primary objective is defensive. We demonstrate our capabilities without causing unnecessary casualties. The Crescians need to understand. We're not an easy conquest, but we're not seeking war. On the Crescian dreadnought. Captain Kurvan reviewed the attack plan with her assault leaders. The first wave will target these 7 locations identified as military command centers, deploy shock troops with suppression weapons followed by capture teams. And the warrior prisoners, Captain, one of the assault leaders asked Kurvan, dismissed the concern with a wave of her clawed appendage. Irrelevant to the mission if they can be extracted during operations, that is acceptable. If not, they are considered acceptable losses. Prepare for atmospheric entry. She ordered combat. Configuration full tactical spread. The massive dreadnought moved into position, its hull glowing as it began to descend toward Earth's atmosphere. The scout ship following at a prescribed distance. Zelaxa watched with growing unease. Something about the humans' behavior suggested they were far too prepared, Commander. Vexara called suddenly. Energy readings from the planet's surface. What kind of readings? Zilsa demanded. Unknown configuration, but massive power signatures activating across the planet's surface, and Vexara paused in shock. In orbit as well. Zilxa felt her thoracic plates constrict with alarm. Scan the orbital signatures. Scanning. Vexara worked rapidly. Commander, these appear to be weapons platforms disguised as primitive communication satellites. They're powering up targeting systems. Warn the dreadnought. Zilxa ordered urgently, but before the warning could be transmitted, a brilliant blue energy pulse erupted from Earth's surface, enveloping the descending dreadnought in crackling energy. The massive ship shuddered visibly, its engines flaring erratically. Quantum disruption field. Vexara identified. It's affecting their propulsion and weapon systems. Zilxa watched in astonishment as dozens of smaller craft suddenly rose from Earth's surface, sleek silver vessels that had been completely undetected by Crescian scans. They took up formation around the struggling dreadnought open communication channel. Emergency frequency, Zilxa ordered. The view screen activated, showing the dreadnought's command center now bathed in red emergency lighting. Captain Kurvan stood amid chaos, her officers struggling to regain control of failing systems. What is happening? Kurvan demanded. The humans have deployed quantum disruption technology, Captain, Zilxa explained quickly. And they have spacecraft advanced combat vessels that were concealed from our scans. Kurvan's mandibles clicked in fury. Impossible. Return fire all batteries. Weapons are offline, Captain, her tactical officer reported. Propulsion at 20%, life support switching to auxiliary power. Another communication channel opened, and Zilxa was shocked to see Amy's face appear on a split screen. Her expression calm and confident. Crescian vessels. This is Commander Amy Ray of Earth Defense Force. Your ships are currently contained within our quantum disruption field. All weapons and propulsion systems have been temporarily disabled. This is a defensive measure, not an act of war. Kurvan's eyes flared with rage. You dare to attack an Imperial dreadnought? Amy remained composed. We have not attacked, we have defended. Had we wished to destroy your vessels, we could have done so. We are merely demonstrating that Earth is not the primitive conquest you anticipated. Zilixa watched the exchange with growing understanding. The humans had orchestrated this entire scenario from the beginning, allowing the initial scout mission to detect their settlement, knowing it would eventually bring a larger Cratian force. What do you want, human? Kurvan demanded. Recognition and respect. Amy replied simply. Earth is not available for conquest or acquisition. We are prepared to establish diplomatic relations with the Cratian Empire as equals, not as subjects, as if to emphasize her point. Several of the human vessels moved closer to the dreadnought, their weapons clearly targeting critical systems. Zilixa realized in that moment that everything the Cratian Empire had assumed about humanity was wrong. They were not primitive, they were not defenseless, and most importantly, they were not unprepared. The balance of power had shifted, and the Empire would need to adapt quickly. Aboard the disabled Cratian dreadnought, Captain Kurvan faced the most humiliating moment of her distinguished military career. Her mighty vessel immobilized by a species the Empire had classified as barely space-capable. The human commander, Amy, Ray's image remained on the view screen, her calm confidence only adding to Kurvan's fury. Release our ship immediately. Kurvan demanded, her voice carrying the full authority of the Cratian Empire. That would be tactically unwise. Amy replied. We prefer to continue this conversation with your weapons systems offline, Zilixa, who remained connected to the communication channel from her scout ship, recognized the diplomatic opening. Perhaps, Captain, we should hear what the humans propose. Kurvan's mandibles clicked in irritation, but with her ship disabled, she had few options. Speak your terms, human. Amy nodded. We propose an immediate cessation of all hostile actions against Earth, the unconditional withdrawal of all Cratian military vessels from the Sol system, and the establishment of formal diplomatic relations between our civilizations. You are in no position to make demands, Kurvan retorted. Amy raised an eyebrow. With respect, Captain, your dreadnought is currently powerless, surrounded by our fleet, and your scout ship poses no significant threat. Our position seems quite favorable. From her command center, Zilixa observed the human vessels maintaining perfect formation around the dreadnought, their design unlike anything in Imperial record, sleek, organic-looking craft that moved with remarkable precision. How did you conceal your true technological level? Zilixa asked, genuinely curious. Amy shifted her attention to the scout ship commander. The same way you concealed your intentions. Commander Zilixa, strategic deception. Earth has known about the Cratian Empire for over 30 years. We've been monitoring your expansion through the galaxy, preparing for the inevitable moment when your scouts would arrive. This revelation sent shockwaves through both Cratian command centers. 30 years of preparation meant the humans had detected Cratian presence long before any official contact. The implications were staggering. Impossible. Kurvan insisted. Our stealth technology cannot be detected by level 2 civilizations. Amy smiled slightly. Perhaps it's time to reconsider your classification system. We've had quantum detection capabilities for decades, though we took care to hide this fact along with our true defense systems on her scout ship. Zilixa was beginning to understand the full scope of the situation. You wanted us to underestimate you. Correct, Commander. Amy confirmed. Earth's Unified Defense Council determined our best strategy was to appear primitive and vulnerable, encouraging your empire to send minimal forces for initial contact, which would give us the opportunity to demonstrate our capabilities without the need for full-scale conflict. Kurvan's rage was palpable, even through the view screen. You tricked us. We survived. Amy countered. The Cratian Empire has conquered 17 systems in the past cycle alone, worlds that likely lacked our preparation time. Our goal was not deception but survival with minimal bloodshed, Zilixa found, herself developing a reluctant respect for the human strategy. It was brilliant, utilizing the Empire's own arrogance against it, allowing the humans to control the terms of first contact. And now, Zilixa asked, now we negotiate, Amy replied. As I said, Earth is prepared for diplomatic relations but not conquest. The choice is yours, Captain, peaceful coexistence or continued conflict. Kurvan's 4 eyes narrowed. And if I refuse your terms? In response, several of the human vessels moved closer, to the dreadnought, their weapon systems glowing ominously. Then we would be forced to demonstrate more of our capabilities. Amy said, her voice hardening slightly. We would prefer to avoid that scenario. The quantum disruption field is temporary and can be deactivated without permanent damage to your systems, but we have more permanent options if necessary. A tense silence filled the communication channel. Kurvan clearly weighing her limited options against her duty to the Empire. Finally, she spoke. I lack the authority to establish diplomatic relations with a new species, particularly one that has demonstrated hostile intent against Imperial forces. Amy nodded as if expecting this response. We understand, Captain, which is why we're prepared to allow you to communicate directly with your High Command. We will temporarily adjust the disruption field to permit communication, while maintaining containment of weapons and propulsion systems. On her scout ship, Zilxa recognized the tactical brilliance of this offer. The humans were providing Kurvan with a face-saving option, while demonstrating both their technological capabilities and their restraint. Captain Zilxa interjected, I recommend accepting the human offer. This situation clearly requires guidance from High Command. Kurvan's mandibles clicked in irritation, but she recognized the logic. Very well, activate communication systems for direct link to Imperial High Command. Amy nodded to someone off-screen, and moments later the Dreadnought's communication officer reported, Captain, long-range communication systems are now functional. Establish encrypted channel to Imperial High Command Priority Alpha. Kurvan ordered as the Dreadnought prepared its transmission. Amy addressed both Crescian commanders. We will withdraw to a respectful distance during your communication, Captain, but our vessels will maintain the containment field. I give you my word that we will not monitor your transmission. With that, the human vessels pulled back, maintaining their formation but creating space around the Dreadnought. Amy's image disappeared from the view screen, and the silence that followed, Zilxa opened a private channel to Captain Kurvan. Captain, I believe the humans are sincere in their offer of diplomatic relations. Your opinion is noted, Commander. Kurvan replied coldly. But this humiliation will not stand. The Empire does not negotiate with inferior species. With respect, Captain, Zilxa persisted. The humans have demonstrated capabilities that suggest they are far from inferior. Their restraint thus far indicates a desire to avoid unnecessary conflict. Before Kurvan could respond, the communication officer announced, Captain, secure channel. To Imperial High Command established. Grand Admiral Vexlier is responding personally. The imposing figure of the Grand Admiral appeared on the view screen, her exoskeleton adorned with the symbols of countless successful campaigns. Captain Kurvan, explain your situation. Kurvan straightened her posture. Grand Admiral, the human defenses were more substantial than intelligence indicated. They have deployed advanced technology, including quantum disruption fields and concealed orbital weapons. Platforms. They have disabled the Dreadnought and are demanding diplomatic recognition. The Grand Admiral's 4 eyes narrowed. Disabled how? They projected an energy field that disrupted our propulsion and weapons systems. Kurvan explained. They control several vessels of unknown design and capability that are currently surrounding us. Commander Zilxa. The Grand Admiral shifted her attention. You observed the initial contact assess the human capabilities. Zilxa chose her words carefully, knowing her assessment would influence Imperial policy. Grand Admiral, the humans appear to have deliberately concealed their true technological level. They claim to have been monitoring Crescian expansion for 30 years, preparing specifically for this encounter. Their tactics suggest extensive knowledge of our protocols and capabilities. And their terms: cessation of hostilities, withdrawal from their system, and diplomatic recognition. Zilxa reported, they have demonstrated both superior tactical position and restraint. They could have destroyed both vessels but chose containment instead. The Grand Admiral was silent for a long moment, processing this information. When she spoke, her tone was measured. The High Command must reevaluate this situation, Captain. You are authorized to establish preliminary diplomatic contact. Only inform the humans that an Imperial diplomatic vessel will be dispatched to their system. Formal negotiations will commence upon its arrival. Kurvan's mandibles clicked in surprise. Grand Admiral, with respect, these humans have attacked an Imperial vessel. They must be punished, not rewarded with diplomatic recognition. You will follow your orders, Captain. The Grand Admiral's tone left no room for argument. The Empire does not waste resources on unwinnable conflicts if the humans possess the capabilities described. A full conquest would require resources currently committed to other fronts. Diplomatic engagement is the prudent course until we better understand their true strength. After the transmission ended, Zilsa watched as Captain Kurvan struggled to contain her anger before finally reopening communication with the human vessels. Amy's image reappeared on the view screen. Captain, have you reached a decision? Kurvan's voice was stiff with suppressed rage. The Crescian Empire acknowledges your request for diplomatic relations. A formal diplomatic vessel will be dispatched to your system. Amy smiled slightly. Excellent. We look forward to establishing peaceful relations with the Crescian people. Do not mistake diplomacy for weakness. Human, Kurvan warned. This matter is far from resolved, of course, Captain. Amy replied, unperturbed. Peace is always a process, not an event. As a gesture of good faith, we will now deactivate the disruption field. Your system should return to normal function within 30 minutes. We ask that you maintain your current position until the diplomatic vessel arrives. 3 weeks had passed since the confrontation with the Crescian. Dreadnought Earth's defense forces remained on high alert, but the immediate crisis had been averted. The Crescian diplomatic vessel had arrived as promised, a sleek craft designed for speed rather than combat. Its elegant form, now in stable orbit around Earth and the newly established neutral meeting facility on Earth's moon. Amy sat across from Vexitara, the Crescian diplomatic envoy. Unlike the military Crescians, Vexitara's exoskeleton was adorned with intricate patterns denoting her status as a member of the diplomatic caste. Her movements more fluid, less rigid than her military counterparts. Commander Ray Vexitara began, her voice modulated to sound less harsh to human ears. I have reviewed the preliminary reports of our first contact with your species. The High Command remains concerned about the deception practiced by Earth. Amy maintained her composure. With respect, Envoy Vexitara, Earth did not deceive. We simply protected ourselves. Our intelligence indicated that any species categorized below level 7 by the Crescian Empire would be subject to conquest. Not diplomatic outreach, we acted accordingly, by creating the appearance of a primitive civilization while concealing advanced defense systems, by allowing your scouts to observe what they expected to see. Amy clarified, our rural settlements are indeed as they appeared. Our cities are as your intelligence reported. The only deception was in hiding our defensive capabilities, a precaution that proved prudent, given the immediate dispatch of a dreadnought upon discovering we might resist. Vextara's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. A gesture Amy had learned indicated thoughtful consideration. A fair observation, Commander. The Empire has grown accustomed to expansion without significant resistance. Behind Amy stood Kelly and Diane, along with 2 other members of Earth's diplomatic team, while Commander Zilsa had accompanied Vextara, representing the military perspective in the negotiations. We are curious, Zelexa interjected, how humans managed to detect Crescian presence 30 years ago. Our stealth technology was considered impenetrable. Amy exchanged glances with her team. Before responding, perhaps we should begin sharing technological insights as a gesture of good faith. Quantum detection is based on principles different from conventional scanning. It does not search for the vessel itself, but for the disruption. In quantum fields caused by your propulsion systems, Vextara and Zilxa exchanged looks of their own, clearly surprised by the humans' willingness to share such advanced knowledge. Fascinating. Vextara acknowledged. The implications for Imperial stealth systems are significant. A small demonstration of our sincerity, Amy said. We seek peaceful coexistence, not conflict. Sharing beneficial technologies serves both our interests. The diplomatic discussions continued for hours, covering everything from territorial boundaries to cultural exchange. Amy noted how Zilxa seemed increasingly engaged as the conversations progressed, occasionally offering insights that surprised even the diplomatic envoy. When they took a brief recess, Amy approached Zilxa, who stood observing Earth through the facility's viewing portal. It's beautiful, isn't it? Zilxa turned her angular head. Your world has unexpected aesthetic qualities. The variation in terrain is most unusual compared to Cretan worlds. Yet, you were prepared to conquer it. Amy observed without accusation. Zilxa's mandibles clicked softly. It is the way of the Empire for generations. Conquest has been our only method of expansion. It is embedded in our culture. Our history, cultures, can evolve. Amy suggested. Adaptation is the mark of an advanced civilization. Perhaps Zilxa conceded. Your species has forced the Empire to reconsider many assumptions. The High Command is still processing the implications of a Level 2 civilization, successfully resisting a dreadnought. Amy smiled slightly. I suspect our classification has been updated to Level 9 with potential for Level 10 capabilities. Zilxa confirmed, unprecedented in Imperial records, when the negotiations resumed. Vextara presented the Empire's formal proposal. The Cretan High Command offers recognition of Earth sovereignty and territorial claim to the Sol system in exchange for limited technological exchange and non-interference with Cretan activities in adjacent sectors. Amy considered the proposal. We accept recognition of our sovereignty, but technological exchange must be mutual and equitable. As for adjacent sectors, we cannot agree to blanket non-interference, particularly if it involves conquest of sentient species. Vextara's posture stiffened. You presume to dictate Imperial expansion policy. We propose an alternative. Amy countered. A joint exploration initiative, Cretan and human scientists working together to study new worlds determining, cooperatively, which are suitable for settlement versus those with indigenous sentient life deserving protection. Zilxa leaned forward with interest. A cooperative approach to exploration rather than conquest. Exactly. Amy confirmed, combining Cretan experience with human perspective, offering benefits to both our civilizations while protecting developing species. Vextara's 4 eyes blinked rapidly as she processed this unexpected proposal. The High Command would need to consider such a fundamental shift in Imperial policy, of course. Amy acknowledged. This is merely the beginning of what we hope will be ongoing dialogue. As the negotiations concluded for the day, the 2 delegations prepared to return to their respective vessels. Amy noticed Zilxa lingering behind. Commander Ray, might I speak with you privately? The Cretan requested. Once they were alone, Zilxa spoke with unexpected candor. Your proposal today challenges 17 generations of Cretan expansion. Doctrine. Amy nodded. Change is rarely comfortable, Commander, especially for an empire built on conquest. Yet it may be necessary, Zilxa said. Surprising Amy, the encounter with Earth has created significant discourse within Imperial leadership. Some, including myself, have begun questioning whether conquest is truly the most efficient path to advancement. Cooperation often yields benefits. Conquest cannot, Amy offered. Indeed. Zilxa agreed. Your species demonstrated this by choosing containment over destruction, restraint over dominance. These are concepts rarely considered in Cretan military doctrine. Amy studied the Cretan commander, seeing past the alien features to recognize something universal, a mind reconsidering long-held beliefs. Sometimes the strongest approach isn't the most obvious one. A lesson Earth has taught the Empire, Zilxa acknowledged. I have requested permanent assignment to the diplomatic mission to your world, Commander Ray. I believe there is much more the Cretan Empire can learn from humanity. As they parted ways, Amy rejoined her team, who were waiting near their shuttle. What did the commander want? Kelly asked. I believe, Amy replied with a thoughtful smile. We just gained an ally within the Cretan hierarchy. Can we trust her? Diane questioned. Trust will take time, Amy acknowledged, but understanding has begun. That's how peace starts, not with grand treaties, but with individual minds opening to new possibilities. The human shuttle departed the lunar facility, returning to Earth, where billions of humans still went about their daily lives, most unaware how close they had come to becoming another conquered world in the Cretan Empire. In her quarters that evening, Amy reviewed the day's negotiations, making notes for the next session when her communication panel chimed. Commander Ray. The duty officer's voice came through. We're detecting unusual activity from the Crescian diplomatic vessel. Amy straightened immediately. Alert hostile negative commander. They appear to be transmitting large data packets to their homeworld analysis. Suggests scientific and cultural information. Not tactical. Amy smiled to herself. They're learning. Thank you, Lieutenant. Continue. Monitoring but no intervention. She turned back to her window, looking up at the night sky where, invisible to the naked eye, 2 Crescian vessels orbited her world, not as conquerors but as reluctant diplomatic partners. Humanity had survived its first contact with an expansionist empire not through superior firepower, though that had played its part, but through preparation, intelligence, and most surprisingly, restraint. The Crescian Empire had arrived expecting another easy conquest. Instead, they found something unprecedented. A species that understood the true meaning of strength was not in dominating others, but in protecting what mattered, while offering peace, even to those who came as enemies. Emmy knew the path ahead would be challenging. The Empire had conquered 17 worlds before Earth. Old habits would not change quickly, but a beginning had been made. First contact successfully navigated, she murmured to herself. Now the real work begins. In her quarters aboard the diplomatic vessel, Zilxa composed her private report to the Grand Admiral, choosing her words carefully. The humans represent not merely a technological challenge to the Empire, but a philosophical one, she wrote. Their approach to conflict resolution offers alternative expansion strategies that may prove more efficient than conquest in the long term. I recommend comprehensive re-evaluation of Imperial doctrine regarding first contact protocols and species classification parameters. She paused, considering whether to include her personal observations before continuing.